This is the plaintiff, Robert Purtell. He says he met the defendant through a mutual friend and loaned him some money. He loaned him money in the past and was repaid with the agreed-upon interest, so he thought nothing of it. There are no honest people left in the world anymore because the guy repaid him with a check from a closed account, and that's about as low as you can go in his book. He's suing for $980, the amount of the loan plus interest. This is the defendant, George Zito. He says the plaintiff's nothing more than a two-bit loan shark. And boy, does he have a reputation around the old age home they both live in. What he's doing is not only immoral, it's illegal because he's charging $40 interest for every $100 he borrows. Bottom line, he paid the guy in full and owes him nothing. He's accused of hanging a loan shark out to dry.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says he got stiffed by the defendant on a loan. But the defendant says the plaintiff is a loan shark with a bad reputation in the old age home. It's the case of Loan Shark Week.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Robert Purtell?
Yes.
You are suing George Zito for $980, $700 that you loaned him, and $280 for interest that he agreed to pay on the $700. Okay, what's going on?
Well, they just chose not to pay, so I decided to take him to court.
Okay, but tell me about the loan.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, Your Honor, I didn't put a gun to his head. He could have said no, didn't have to take the money.
Okay, but tell me how the loan worked. He came to you, and you live in the same senior housing community.
Right.
Okay, and what happened?
Well, he needed money, so his friend told him, and we got together, and he borrowed the money. And he knew the interest, and he took the money anyway.
Okay, and how much was the interest?
$40 on 100.
Okay, and do you understand that that comes out to 35% interest?
Well, let's just put it this way: nothing is free.
Okay, and had you loaned him money in the past?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Many times.
The agreement was that for every 100 the defendant borrowed, he had to pay me back an additional 40. And then you have in quotation marks, 40, 100.
Right.
That was your slogan, 40, 100. Okay. So many times you said?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened this time?
You get to a point where you just don't want to pay anymore.
Okay. Mr. Zito, why don't you tell me?
Okay. It happened. I borrowed the $800 from him. He was charging 40% interest on the $800. Okay, because I had to get my truck fixed. I paid him the whole loan on that. That was done. Second loan, I knew it was personal loan. I borrowed $600 from him. Charge of 40% interest. The housing authority.
It's not exactly 40, but go ahead. Okay.
The housing authority called up and told him he can't do that anymore.
How did the housing authority, you mean with the housing community where you live?
The community where I live, yeah.
Okay. Is that government run or is it private?
It's run by HUD.
Okay. And so how did they get wind of the fact that Mr. Purtell was loan sharking?
I have no idea. But
okay. Did you tell them?
He came upstairs that day and he was scared and told me, he says, they're going to throw me out.
And did they?
No. Well, they gave him a chance. They gave him another chance.
Have you been loaning money since then?
Yes, he has.
Are you kidding me? And
no.
After they tell you that they don't want you, do you want to get thrown out
there
of there?
was a few residents he loaned money to.
After that?
No, not after that.
Before that.
Before that, but not after that.
No, after that, that was done.
That was done.
Yeah.
But he has no problem coming to court and suing you for what they told him he wasn't allowed to do.
Exactly.
So are older people generally more honest than younger people?
I think so. I think old people tend to care less about what other people think because they've kind of given up on caring.
They've given up. They're just waiting to die.
That's how old we're talking here.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with him, what he said.
Okay. Are they just more honest fundamentally?
No, I think they just know how to lie better, and they just know what to say to people, and they just have
how to just manipulate.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Another point of view. You're welcome. Going inside the courtroom.
You know that you have a cap at the interest that you can charge, and that when you try to charge more than that, you get penalized in your state, like in most states, right?
I don't know, but I'm not that smart.
Oh, well then, I am. So allow me then to educate you. If you do what you did, you could be imprisoned for 6 months. You can't charge that kind of usurious interest. It's called loan sharking when you do that, and it's against the law. So you could actually go to jail for 6 months.
It's actually it started out helping the people that that
no,
can't
it's
get money from
helping
a
you.
bank.
If you get 40 bucks for every 100, you're not doing it because you want to help people. Go to a soup kitchen and ladle out some soup. What you wanted to do was make some money.
Right, but at the same time, I was helping people that couldn't get money from a bank. And at the same time,
every loan shark says that.
I did not put a gun to nobody's head.
Yes. Did he threaten to break your kneecaps?
No.
I was threatened by his friend.
You were threatened by his friend?
Yes.
What did his friend say?
His friend said that he's going to break my 2 legs.
That he was going to break your legs. The
No,
plaintiff was
he
going to.
has someone to break my legs.
That he has someone to watch out because he has
Watch
somebody
out,
who
you know, I had the
Were anybody in the housing community's legs ever broken?
No.
Okay. Any
No.
pinkies?
No.
Nothing.
No.
Right?
No.
Okay. Guess what? I got some bad news for you. Some states punish people who do what you do and say, now you can't have any interest charge. You only get the principal.
That's what I put on my paper.
Some states look at what you do and say, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. We gotta pull a soup Nazi here, and now you have no soup at all. Are you a Seinfeld fan?
No.
Are you a Seinfeld fan?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you have no soup. Okay. Here's the problem. Your state wants to make sure that you don't do what you do. So much so that the law says that you don't get to use me to collect any of it. In other words, the punishment for loan sharking criminally is 6 months. The punishment for loan sharking civilly is that if he doesn't feel like paying you a penny, he doesn't have to pay you a penny. You don't get to collect one stinking penny. How many people still owe you money?
I think there's one more.
One more? Make sure you tell whoever that is.
But it's not the interest that the person was paying is nowhere near what he was.
What was it?
Maybe $7.
Maybe $7 on the 100. I doubt it. The interest you're allowed to pay.
Your Honor.
The interest you are allowed to charge
Your Honor.
is. Are you hearing me?
When I tell you,
I haven't told you have no interest in knowing the legal interest you're allowed to charge. Would you like to know? 12%. That's what you're allowed to do. And you can't loan anybody in the housing community, apparently, because they don't want you loaning anybody. It's not just loan sharking. It's they don't want him making loans, or no? It's just the loan sharking part.
Loan sharking,
The
yeah.
loan sharking part. Okay. Well, the legal interest that you can charge is 12%, not anywhere near what you were charging. Verdict for the defendant.
Well, let's see what the plaintiff has to say about that.
Nothing to say.
No?
No.
I mean, did you know these laws before you went in there?
No, I've never gotten into it before.
Right, and the judge just told you that
Right.
you lose the principal, the interest, everything in your state.
It doesn't matter.
What? That
Doesn't matter.
Why not?
No, don't need it.
All right, so come step on in here. What are you thinking about this whole thing?
Well, he's a loan shark.
What are you borrowing money from him for?
40% interest. Well, at the time, I needed the money for my vehicle. It was broken and it was run down. And
you agreed at the time that to his interest rate, whatever he specified to you?
At the time, I was really desperate. I needed the money. And that's why I closed my account. Once I knew that he couldn't do it anymore, and that was it. So I closed my account on my bank.
Were you worried at any time when you heard from that gentleman you mentioned in the testimony there?
Oh, no.
Didn't worry? How come that didn't scare
No,
you?
he's not gonna do nothing because he's on oxygen and stuff like that. He's not gonna do anything.
Okay. All right, Harvey?
Well, just so you know, usury is absolutely illegal. And when you do that, you can't get any interest from the person that you loan money to. In any state, 35% not legal. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.